Welcome, everybody, to That Yearbook Podcast with those yearbook people. And you might not know it, but that title and this whole podcast was conceived by our long-term buddy, Mike Taylor.
The one and only.
The one and only, as I'm sure you all know by now. He passed away in January, the end of January, from an 18-month battle with brain cancer. And dear Mike fought valiantly, but sometimes those tumors are just too much. But we know he is where he would love to be. He's floating in the lazy river, the Rainbow River somewhere.
Rainbow River.
Having a great time. And we're sad. We are missing our buddy. And we just want to share with you some of our thoughts about our dear Mike. CSPA convention was last week, and we were very thankful and impressed by all the people, every company, people from all parts of their yearbook career came up and just said how much he meant to them and just gave their condolences, and that really meant a lot to us. And then Mike was supposed to he was getting awards all over the place this year.
Still is.
He was supposed to get a major award from CSPA in their 100th anniversary. But lo and behold, his memorial service was scheduled for the same day. So Sabrina and I and a bunch of dear friends gathered in Central Florida, Inverness, Florida, I think it was, for a celebration of the memory of the wonderful, the magical Mike Taylor. And Sabrina and I were privileged to give a little talk there, and we just want to share some of our thoughts that we shared.
Yeah, there is a lot to celebrate when you think about the fabulous pirate Mike Taylor. There's just, and honestly, our biggest fear was like, how do you do this man justice? You know, like I would bet money that most of you guys out there listening have either spent time with Mike, he's looked at your book, he's looked at your pages, he's made you giggle, like you've seen him on podcasts, you've seen him on webinars. He has touched so many lives and has had such a grand impact on people in the yearbook world for sure, but personally as well. Like he was just that guy. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. And when Jim and I were talking about like, how do you sum this man up? Like, I don't feel like there's ever going to be enough words or time to tell all of the Mike stories that we all have, because we all have them. But we started talking about, man, what makes Mike so magical? Like, what is it about him that made everybody, like, he was like a magnet, you know? And, you know, in the words of Marcy Young from Presque Isle, she wrote in a card, she said he had that like special brand of like Mike magic. And I was like, man, that is spot on. It's so true. So we spent some time talking about like, let's try to narrow down as much as we can for someone that was so larger than life. What were those qualities that made Mike? Like what was his essential Mike-ness, you know, that we all knew and loved. And one of the first ones we talked about was that he was just like the ultimate people person, right? Like he loved people. He put people first. Like he was always making sure that everyone felt included, unique, special. I've watched him do it with students for forever.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Like, I mean, and we all felt that way. Like at some point we all had that connection with Mike where if you were friends with Mike Taylor, you felt like you were part of the coolest club in town. That's how he made you feel. Like, oh my gosh, he talked to me. Like, this is so cool, you know? And he was friends with everybody. He was friends with everybody that he met. He remembered people's names. He made them feel special. He never left anyone out. I remember somebody, it's a long story, I won't bore you all with, but one of the former editors at Freedom High School, who's now actually a mobile rep for us, he got dubbed the name Freedom Boy. It's a long story, but Mike never let that go. He would always make sure that Owen was known as Freedom Boy. And so he just brought that up constantly. Even when he was in training, he made sure he had a little Freedom Boy nameplate that was specially put at his spot. That's those ideas where when you think about Mike, he always was making sure that people felt special. And that's why we all can't ever forget the impact that he had on our lives, because he all made us feel that way.
In any workshop he was in, I watched him do it over and over again. There would always be one or two people in the crowd that became his best friend.
Oh,
he
yeah.
knew their name. He knew their name. He knew their history. And then in the middle of the workshop, he'd say, "What do you think?" You know,
Yeah.
and everybody would just crack up. And you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait to be Mike's special friend.
Special buddy.
That, and I love
Yes.
that you brought that up. We didn't talk about that in the speech. He had a nickname for everybody.
So many
Or
people.
he could pronounce anybody's name wrong. He could make up a name for them. And they were so happy when it happened. It was like the coolest thing. If Mike
Yes.
nickname.
That was the fun part. Like, I mean, I watched him so many times. I mentioned this before, but like he could walk into a school and tell them something they were working on looked awful. Like he would just be like, "I don't like it. Like that sucks. No, not a fan." And they would just be like, "Ha ha ha, Mike, you're the best." They loved
Yeah.
him regardless. Like he could, which was what honestly made him so effective and amazing, is because he could be very honest about what he thought about what you might be working on and tell you the absolute truth, but he did it in such a way that you still loved him for it. Like he made you laugh, he made you giggle, and he still made you feel good about what you were doing and the potential to make it even better. He made you excited to make changes and work on it. And so that was what was so magical about how he worked with people. He had a special effect.
Absolutely. And I didn't really have a nickname, but my thing was the old jokes.
Oh, yes.
Did you ever hear Mike talk about how old I was?
Always.
I think I knew Gutenberg. I rode in the Pony Express. I did all sorts
Dinosaurs
of
roaming
things.
the earth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Carrier pigeons.
And it was great. Now we won't break any details. We won't break any secrets here, but we did find out that Mike never let anybody know. He never let anyone know his true age.
It was a mystery.
It was a mystery, and I'm not going to. It's not my place to reveal the mystery.
We will not be revealing that today on this podcast.
But there's an irony. If you knew the exact date, Mr. Gutenberg here is not that far away
Had a close
from
friend.
Mike's age. Another thing we found out about Mike, because we got to spend, this is another great thing, after the service, we got to spend almost 2 days with Mike's family. And what wonderful people they are. Mike's nieces and nephews who all adored him. But the picture albums come out. And if you ever knew about where Mike grew up, it's a town called Dunedin, and which there's another town in Scotland called Dunedin. And Mike was always excited about the Scottish games in Dunedin. And okay,
Yes.
and so it's like, okay, Mike, that's I get it. Okay, maybe your niece is doing it or something. But when we were with the family, we got to see the pictures of Mike Taylor as a Scottish dancer
and it was awesome. Like
with
it
a
was
full
awesome.
with a full head of hair and his little shoes, and he was leaping. I mean, think about this. Mike Taylor leaping in the air with pure joy. It was great. So
it was amazing.
we never
Little
heard
known facts about Mike Taylor. You never
we,
knew.
we didn't know that. Yeah.
But
So
we wanted to talk about some of these things that are the magic of Mike, but we also have spent a lot of time talking about what we learned from this amazing person, that impacted all of our lives, and this call to be like Mike and how we can be like Mike. And I think how he treated people, how he made them feel included is one of those like primary ways where we can all kind of take a look at how we function, even in your yearbook classrooms and whatnot, and say like, how am I making other people around me feel special? How am I making them feel included? Especially you leaders, if there's students, advisors listening on this staff, editors are listening to this podcast, how am I being like Mike and making sure that even the new freshman on staff who is sitting in the corner and minding their own business because they don't know anybody else, how am I making sure they feel like they're a part of the staff and they're included?
Well, this would be the perfect time, Sabrina. Tell the story about how you met Mike and how he made you feel important.
So I'll give you guys the short version. The short version is I was teaching at Camp Orlando and I was still advising. I was still a teacher. I had my staff there and I was setting up my classroom, getting things ready. And, you always have a camp shirt. We all love a good shirt from camp. And this year's shirts had like the name tag thing on it. And it said like, hello, my name is. And then you could write like on the shirt, like what you wanted to put on there. And so I got a phone call from Adam, who was running the camp. And he's like, hey, listen, there were only 2 shirts left. And one was yours and one was meant for Mike Taylor, which I don't think I had met yet up until this point. And so he said, unfortunately, Mike did not look at the sizes and he just grabbed a t-shirt and he's already written on it. He said, so you can either, and he grabbed the small t-shirt. So he's like, you can either have like a large or extra large, whatever it was, t-shirt that's blank and you can write on it what you want. He's like, or you can have your small shirt, but it currently says Magic Mike on it. And I just died laughing. I was like, by all means, I want the Magic Mike shirt. And I still have the shirt. I had to pull it out. I still have that shirt. But like, then I remember him coming to my classroom going like, I'm so sorry about your shirt. And I'm like, this is awesome. I felt so special getting to have like my own personal like Magic Mike shirt and having that connection with him. So even when he's not trying, he still had that effect on people. When he's just being his normal, innate Mike, he was still having that impact on people and making them feel special and a part of his cool club. So, yes.
That's right. Well, Mike left the classroom. He was working at Lake Canto High School, and then he started working for another company in 2000. And I got to know him a little bit in those days, but it was toward the end of the time he was with that company. He and Judy Coolidge came up with an idea to create a book. And I have the book where they went to a lot of long-term advisors that had been doing it a long time and had won awards or whatever. And we got to write about what it meant to us to be a yearbook advisor, what the magic of being a yearbook advisor was. And it's a hardbound book. It has like 50 different advisors in it. And I got to work with Mike on that. And that time I knew what he loved most was championing other people. First of all, advisors, and then other students. And then I got to go to, if you've ever been to an elite weekend, Mike Taylor invented elite weekends.
Sure did.
And so I got to go to one of the ones that he was doing with another company. And I got to go there. And it was at that time, we're driving around, and it was at that time that I found out he was changing companies. This was like 2011, and he's been with Walsworth ever since. And another thing about Mike, he always cared about the company that he worked for as well. So he always wanted to tell you about the next workshop we were having and about the next photo contest. So all that he was always promoting, always sharing about the stuff that he loved. So
well, I was gonna say that's another be like Mike moment, right? Is being passionate about what you're doing, being passionate about it and constantly coming up with new ideas for it. Like that, a lot of the stuff we do today, we do because Mike created that thing, like Elite Weekends, And so he was constantly thinking of the next thing. I mentioned the story of like I would be walking out of a school and I'd have like 5 missed phone calls and I'd listen and it'd be Mike saying like, "Hey, stop working, call me back, I have an idea." Like he always just had like tons of stuff and tons of ideas. He was such a visionary in that regard, and he was always so passionate about it. Like you could tell he truly loved what he did. And I think that's another great like be like Mike moment to think about. Like, are we really loving what we're working on? Like, I know probably now during final deadline time is probably not the time to ask that question, because everybody's probably like, not right now. But in big picture wise, like, yes, like we love what we do, but never getting bored by it. I don't feel like he ever got bored by it because he was always coming up with the next thing, the next big thing. And I think that's a great challenge for us to think like, how can I be a visionary on my staff? Like, how can I come up with a new way to approach something or something different to do, or to how a different way to organize our staff or a different event to have, just keep challenging yourselves to push things forward and really channel that inner Mike in being so excited about the project you're working on.
And another story about visionary Mike. I just love this. Mike is home. He's ill. He's not able to help as much as he did. And we are having meetings online about what are we going to do for our summer workshop theme. And we must have come up with 50. And this one could be okay. And no, this one really was a yearbook theme a little while ago. And we're just struggling. And then finally, we got Mike on the line. Mike was there. Mike was able to come to one of the meetings. And he said it, our workshop theme for this summer is called Here for It. And Mike said it, and we instantly said, that's it.
That's the one.
So Mike's memory is going to live on all this summer and fall with his Here for It, because Mike was always here for it.
Oh,
whatever
always
it was.
Here for it.
Yeah, whether it was
that's a great Mike theme. Yeah,
it's a great Mike theme.
Always.
He was here for it. So that's not us. We're struggling along trying to come up with little tiny ideas, and Mike delivers the big hit.
Of course.
His last contribution. So he really was a visionary. Yes. And as Sabrina and I are trying to fumble along and do new things, we just knew if Mike were here,
like what would he do?
We'd get that one big idea that would make things super special.
And part of what we always think, I mean, it honestly, like if you would say like, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Mike Taylor? Most people would say he's just a goofball. Like that guy. He always makes you laugh. He can make himself laugh. Like he was constantly giggling and goofing his way around. And that's what we all loved so much about him. And I think, again, our next Be Like Mike moment is don't take all this stuff so seriously. That's
relax.
That was the magic of Mike. Like he made everything that to us was so like stressful and we have to make decisions and it has to be perfect and we want it to be exactly right. And he just had fun with it. Like he just had a ball with it. It was never so heavy like we tend to make it. We're so stressed. Like he was just enjoying it and having a good time with it. I mean, think about that during your final deadline time, and distribution time and all these like stressful times in the spring when it comes to yearbook, and think, I need to be more like Mike and just, you know what? I just need to have fun with this. How can we make it more fun in the classroom? Do we need dance parties? Do we need games and activities? He loved a minute to win it game, like, I mean, what was the one you were talking about? The Hungry Hippo. Like he loved like that.
He loved
stuff.
Playing that as much as anything.
Probably half of our Instagram messages back and forth were literally games that he would find somewhere. I mean, that he must have taught that algorithm something about camp and workshop games, because he was constantly sending them to me. Why? Because like, if you're going to work hard, play hard, right? And he got that. Like he knew how to be passionate about what he did, but he also knew how to just have a ball doing it. And I think we can all learn a lot from Mike in that regard. It's just like, have fun.
One of my
It's
favorite
just the
days.
yearbook.
One of my favorite days was when we were putting together the possibilities books.
Yes.
All of us get together, Sabrina, Mike, and I, we got together and we pull spreads. So this is a great themes packet and this is a great photo. And we're looking through all these things. And it gets kind of tedious after a while. You know, we want to make sure we get them all. And so one day we're doing that. And Mike says, wait a minute. And he runs out to the kitchen in the Walsworth headquarters, Walsworth HQ, and brings back a whole bunch of popsicles.
So we can't sit still for that long. That's
they
a
might
long
have
time.
even been the ones like the Otter Pop things where you have to clip off.
Yes. It was like the old school ones for sure.
We're making a mess. We're eating Otter Pops, and that was great. Then a little bit of more time went on, and he got the idea that maybe we should build a fort. And so we built a fort out of yearbooks. And we don't do it anymore, but there was a couple of yearbook conventions where we recreated our fort in the Walsworth booth. But
yes, it was so fun because you could take cute pictures in it, yearbook pictures, and it was a blast. That literally came from Mike just going like, "This is getting like
boring,
and I need to get up and move around and do something fun, you know." But then he had a genius idea out of that. Like then it became part of our booth at conventions. I mean, all from Mike just not taking it too seriously, just goofing around.
But the best part was the Walsworth people had to send someone in to keep watch on us to make sure we were working hard.
I know. We got babysat after that.
You need a little monitoring sometime. Another part of Mike, I want to say, is how tender-hearted he was. And if you were really lucky, and I really mean this, if you were really blessed, you were with him in those moments where his heart was touched deeply by someone. It might have been a story of someone that did really well in their yearbook or someone that he hadn't seen for a long time, but all of a sudden out of nowhere, he'd tear up and just get filled with emotion. That's how much he loved all of us, how much he loved all of you, and just how much he cared. He was so tenderhearted, and I hope you all got to see that because it was a blessing.
You can't fake that emotion. And when you saw him, tear up, get emotional about somebody winning an award, guys, I have to tell you, it was always about someone else's success. Like he saw somebody he loved and cared about being successful, like winning an award, getting some recognition, and that warmed his heart. So it goes back to even putting people first. You can't fake that. That was just who Mike was as a person. And that caring, authentic passion that he had, we all felt that. Anybody that had interactions with him was lucky enough to experience that.
Absolutely. And then we have a big list coming up of all the things that Mike was that maybe you didn't know about. Did you know, and we didn't talk about this in our speech that much, but what we didn't talk about is how much he loved Disney. When we had our Orlando Elite weekend and Mike didn't want to show off his scar from his surgery, we all got nice little Mickey hats that we can still wear. But he really was governed by Disney principles. It was a little bit of a problem, though. One time we were trying to do a webinar, and all of a sudden we realized Mike was sitting on a bench in Disney World. Danielle was not happy about that.
Trying to soak up some extra magic, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure.
But he was always up for an adventure. He was always up for something fun. I mean, we were talking about one time he got it in his head that we were going to do an airboat ride with some of the instructors at Elite Weekend, and we got on this airboat. We were going to go see alligators. We saw 0 alligators out in nature, but we were out there for I don't know how long, but it poured. I mean, not just a light sprinkle, it poured. We were all drenched, soaked through head to toe. And then when we got back to like the main area, like the whatever, lobby part of the alligator airboat thing, they had an alligator in a glass cage, and we all got to hold it. I was like, we didn't even have to go out there for this. Like we didn't have to all get soaked. And those were the picture. He still like used to text all of those pictures of us looking soaked and awful and miserable and cold and wet to us all the time as just reminders that I had it. And then us all holding these like alligators that were there the whole time. And we never saw one out in the wild. But he was just always up for an adventure. Like
Something
that was
fun,
because you never knew what was going to happen. You hang out with Mike long enough, you never know where you're going to end up, you know?
Yep.
That was the fun of it.
There were the days you were in New York and all of a sudden he had 10 tickets to a Broadway show and he took all his best friends.
Sure did. Sure did.
And
that's what he did.
Yeah, that's right. He was a giver and a sharer and just a lover of people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many of our list here we want to share. We probably don't want to share too many of these.
No, probably not. But we do have a list of a lot of
we do.
words that our marketing team, I believe it was Jenica and Steph, Stryker and Kira, that came up with a list of words that really embodied Mike Taylor. And when we talk about being like Mike, I think that's how we all carry the magic of Mike on, you know, as much as we are all heartbroken and we are going to miss his big personality at every yearbook event so much. We're all going to feel that, but we can keep what was important to Mike going by being like Mike. It's super simple. We, you know, putting people first and being a visionary and being passionate about what we do and not taking things too seriously, being up for an adventure and being okay with being tenderhearted and emotional and caring so much about something. Those were the, you know, essential Mikey things that we all know and loved. And so our marketing team put this wonderful list together of the qualities that were Mike that we can all try to aspire to.
And it's on a giant banner that I think we'll take with us around. It'll certainly be at the Seattle convention. We left our first version of it with Mike's wife, Julie. So she'll get to have this forever, but I hope you all get to see it. And I'm sure when we are doing Elite Weekends in the fall, we are going to be honoring Mike because he deserves to be remembered. So do you want to read our list now?
Yeah. Let's do
it. Did I start last time? I
think I
might have. Okay, these are descriptors for Mike Taylor, our beloved Mike Taylor. Hype man, change maker, larger than life, trailblazer, heart and soul.
Journalism, storyteller, cheerleader, supporter, and fearless.
Educator, colleague, coach, advisor, mentor.
Creator, trendsetter, visionary, champion, and motivator.
Energizer, goofball, innovator, yearbooker, enthusiast.
Legend, bright light, advocate, and most definitely our friend. We all know it's going to be not the same. Nope. And I know there are like a million Mike stories out there, you know, like there are so many that we want to hear, like we want to know, like everybody's got like their Mike experience. And I absolutely love that. And I know there's no way we can ever wrap everything up that was Mike Taylor, but we just want everybody out there to know that he was an amazing, incredible human being that impacted all of our lives. And we're going to miss him immensely. And that we just all need to just remember to be like Mike.
It's as simple as that. Any way you can, be like Mike. And we're going to remember him. I know we've been touched and influenced so many ways by this dear man. And we're going to keep him in our hearts forever.
Thank you for tuning in to That Yearbook Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your preferred platform. Happy yearbooking.